Morning, this is Mr. Willie in West Virginia. It is a Sunday, April the 8th, and I've got a really quick word because I'm headed off to service this morning. But at two different times this weekend, I've heard a word that I think is applicable to most of our lives, and it has to do with the fact that sometimes we get to running around so much that we don't rest. And even though I'm retired, I'm probably running around just as much, if not more. And it's real easy to get run down. The one thing that was kind of funny was one guy shared the fact that, if you're pouring out of a pitcher, or in this case out of a gallon jug, and you keep pouring to everybody, you just keep pouring out to everybody to the point to where this is empty. This is you. You don't want to ever get to the point to where you're completely empty, because then you can't pour out to anybody anymore. And I'm speaking probably mostly to people that are ministers, and to people that have families. You can pour yourself out so much that you are empty and have nothing to pour out. And a lot of times we don't have anybody pouring back in. One of the really neat scriptures in the Bible where Jesus gives us an example is a lot of times it said that he withdrew from the crowds to pray. Before he was crucified, he went into the Garden of Gethsemane and he separated himself from his disciples even at that point to go and pray. He was constantly being pulled at by crowds, by people. Once he started doing miracles, once he started doing all the fantastic things he was doing, feeding the 5,000, people were following him. And they wanted parts of him. And maybe some of you are feeling that same pressure. Your children, your grandchildren, your coworkers, your loved one, maybe your spouse, or it could be anybody that's pulling at you, and drawing stuff out of you, and constantly wanting something to the point to where you're just empty. And what happens with a lot of us, when we get empty like that, is that we either blow up and get mad about stuff, or we get depressed, or we get sick. So I want to encourage you all, withdraw from everything once in a while to fill yourself back up, okay? This is going to be a quick word, but I think it's a powerful word, because I think a lot of us, we just run, and don't realize that God doesn't always want us to run. Sometimes he wants us to say no to those requests, something that people might want us to do. It's okay to say no. It's okay to say, no, I can't do that for you right now. It's okay to say, I'm in a time of rest right now. As a retired person, at times I've worked my whole life. So sitting around sometimes and just doing nothing, I almost feel guilty, and I have to force myself to rest. I have to force myself to sit down and maybe just take a salah, a little pause, and just get myself poured back into. That's why I watch a lot of Christian TV, and I try not to watch too much of it as a man of God, because you end up stealing other people's material, man. And I'll tell you what, there's some guys out there got some great revelations that just really fill me up. This weekend I've heard from a couple different guys, and I honestly told them, I said, you know what, some of the stuff you shared, I'm going to steal it. I'm going to use it because it's good stuff. But with that being said, find a time to rest. A lot of us, most of us, celebrate the Lord's Day on Sunday, and that's because of his death, burial, and resurrection. Sabbath is actually a Saturday, according to Hebrew and Jewish laws. It's Saturday, and I've hung out with Sabbath keepers. It's a great time, because they don't just rest on Saturday. They begin to rest on Friday night. They begin to prepare meals and things on Friday night, so that Saturday is totally about resting. Totally about resting. Most of us don't rest any day, because Saturday and Sundays are days off, so we're running to Walmart, we're running to do this. For some of you have children in sports, you're running. My daughter has granddaughters that are in theater, so they're always on the move, going somewhere to play practice, even on Saturdays and Sundays. You all can say what you want about public education, but it really drains on parents, and especially single parents. it's a rough thing, and they don't seem to understand that the children need to be somewhere. Most children can't drive, don't have cars. We don't have, some of us don't have enough money to have 3 and 4 cars, so our children can drive themselves everywhere. So we're the ones running. I'm trying not to rant and rave, but that's just the reality of some people's lives, and I know a lot of you know what I'm talking about. So with that being said, find a time to rest, okay? Find a time to allow someone or something to be poured back into you so that you don't get empty yourself, okay? Shalom.